Good evening and welcome to another Power BI session. It's my pleasure to have you on board once more. All right, so we've been taking a look at what is Power BI, why Power BI, and today we'll be diving in deeper and deeper. So the last time we talked about connecting and shaping our data set, in which we explored the Power Query editor. Please make a comment if you can see my screen. We need to drive fast.
I can see it, sir.
Okay. All right. Okay. So now we took a look at connecting data to Excel and how we can use the Power Query editor. Okay. So we saw that there are many transformations we could actually perform on Power Query, and taking a look at the data types in which we explored the dates in particular for, that's the DOB concerning the employee HR data set we were working with. So for many of us that actually did it and gave it a trial, I would say the best practice to do is that you first change the date settings. Okay. After you've changed the date settings on your Power BI, close the app, then relaunch. After relaunching, then you reload the data set. It's going to give you the right format, because I'm sure many of us, we actually replaced values where we had hyphen and we replaced it to slash. So if you've done that before, please restart the process again. Okay. So the first thing to do is set the date and time settings to the regional settings, which is Nigeria in this case, or the UK time. And once that is done, restart the Power BI app and then you reload your data. On checking the data sets, you would see that everything will be perfectly fine. All right. And then in terms of column profiling, we're able to see, okay, this particular column, how many distinct values does it has, how many unique values, and then the applied steps, which is a transformation recipe. All right, so moving on, I'm sure we are familiar with Power Query interface, okay? All right, and then the various data transformation operations, renaming column, changing data, adding custom columns as well. All right, so quick one, onto data modeling. So we have what we call the one-to-many relationship, and then the many-to-one, okay, relationship. Recall, I think maybe when we get on the app, I'm going to show you how this relationship works. So when we're talking about one-to-many, say for instance, you have your students in your department, okay, whereby you have a list of their matriculation numbers and their names. Then you have another table such that the student takes a lot of courses. So that way, when you want to link the matric number to that other table right now, that means you're having only just one matric number here to a table where you are taking so many courses. So the reverse now is the case where you have many to one. Then we also have what we call the foreign keys and the primary keys. So in your table where you have your customer data set, each customer has a customer ID, has a customer name, that has maybe bought a particular product right now, product ID. Okay, so on that customer table right now, you'll be having what? The customer ID as the primary key, while the product ID is going to be a foreign key, because surely there will be another table called the product table. Okay, and that product table will have so many things about the data set itself, such as the product ID, the product name, maybe the product location, where it is stored in the store, and many other details like that. Moving on, we have the star schema and the snowflake schema. So not to buzz you, all this is not too much. Okay, so here for the star schema right now, you have the facts table. This facts table is going to be like your central table that contains a whole lot of stuffs. So remember I was mentioning about a student whom is particularly assigned to a department, so you might have a matriculation number and name table right now. So that would be like a subset of the dimension table. So you have the name and then the matric number. Then another dimension table might be maybe the list of courses in the department, okay, as well as their course code. That's another dimension table. So when you try to bring everything all together, it's this star schema. So there's actually a link here where you can use schema. And here we have the snowflake. So we have a central facts table, but this one now it's just like a drill down. Yes, a drill down of dimension tables and all. So that's where you have the fact table, dimension table, and then the sub-dimensional table. But when you take a look at this document that has been shared here, so let me launch it. So can you see what is a star schema? Your data is in the star format. So now you can see dime product, which will be for the product table. You have for the store, you have for date, and then you have for customer. So this is an example of the fact sales table that is going to be like the central point. Okay, then if you now move on to snowflake schema, so you can see here you have the central fact sales table in the middle here. Moving on, you have the dime product. So inside the product now, you can see you have product color. So that one is going to give you a drill down into, okay, what's the product color and all. Then moving on, you can see product size as well. Then move on again, you can see product details and product category. So the snowflake schema gives a drill down compared to the star schema. I mean, snowflake schema and then star schema. So, but depending on your work, it's best you know the one you are working with per time in your role. Okay, so we might not need to dwell too long on this. The link has been attached. We can always check this out. Now, visuals and reports. How do we come up to do our visualizations and our reports? So here on Power BI, we have the visual gallery. So permit me to just walk through the slides first, then we go to the practical session later. We have the visual gallery. Here you have your bar charts, your line chart, your matrix, map, KPI cards, and all. And on that particular page, which we've explored before, you have your reports page where you can build your visualization on the canvas, as well as make your formatting, your labels, and all. Use your slicers. And moving on, I mentioned that we'll have a brief look at DAX. So does anyone know about DAX, and can anyone tell us about DAX? Yeah, we must talk. Hello.
I think that's just about writing formulas. Or is there anything more than that to it?
Okay.
Yeah, I should add to what she said. So,
okay, please
that is like, it's like the code, the programming part of it, of Power BI.
Okay.
It's majorly, that's just the programming part of Power BI used to like create measures, stuff like that.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. So just like your name, please.
I want to check.
Please always mention your name. Yes.
My name is Ayodele.
Okay, Ayodele. Okay. Then the second person, please.
Okay.
Makinde.
That's me.
Makinde. All right. Thank you very much, Ayodele and Makinde. All right. So data analysis expressions is a formula language, okay, used in Power BI and other data analytics too. So, when they tell you that, oh, you'll be doing low code, that that you won't write code. I'm not saying you're not going to write code in Teku, even though it might be kind of simple and not too complex, but you surely write what? You write codes. Okay, so that is where the DAX comes into place, and it's used for your calculated columns, your measures, and tables. So it helps you to do more concerning your Power BI. And we have some concepts here. We have the measures, we have calculated columns, and we have tables. So here in measures, if you need to create calculations based on a specific context, say for instance, you want to check the average sales value, you want to check, oh, what's the total count of employee, okay? So you bring in what we call measures, and they are dynamic. So for instance, now, if you add more data to your data set, or you decide to apply a filter on the data, it will surely reflect dynamically. Then when it comes to calculated columns, so that means you already have your existing columns before, and then you need to bring in new columns. So we'll explore a little bit of that as well. And then we'll see what we call tables. So you can also use your DAX to create virtual tables based on your existing data. But today we'll look at measures and calculated columns. So we can proceed with tables later on. Then we have our functions for DAX. So the functions include the sum, average, count, calculate, and then our arithmetic operators as well. Our addition, subtraction, multiplication and division, as well as our comparison operators. Okay, then we have our column and table references. So this one is very, very important, this column and table references. So for instance, now you have your table name and then you have your column inside it. So when we get to the practical stage, it would show forth well. Then we have our variables. So say, for instance, now, you intend to call a particular line of formula multiple times in a single DAX expression right now on your measures. So you need to have what we call variables. So say, for instance, you can see, say, VAR, which is variable, that's the keyword you use, equals to maybe, say, total employee multiplied by 2. You know, that way you've already represented it as a variable. So continuously, instead of you to be calling total employee multiplied by 2, you just call the variable and then you proceed. Then for comments, we have /. So if you're writing comments, so what comment will actually help you do is help you to actually understand that, okay, this particular line of code, this is what it's doing. Then you can proceed on to do more things. Even when you are not there, it makes it explainable to anyone that comes across your code and say, oh, I want to understand what this person is trying to work on. Okay, then we have our DAX functions. Okay, so I'm sure we all have a link to these slides, right? Do we? Let me know. Hello?
No, sir. No.
You are not sure, or what?
No, sir.
No, sir. Okay. All right, I'll drop it then on the group chat. So we would see this later on. So when we want to perform part of your arithmetic operations, you want to add all the value on your data set now. So you use the sum function. Okay, we also have what we call the iterator functions as well, but these are the basic one we're going to be considering. So the difference between the iterator functions and then your normal functions is that those ones have X alongside. So it works like an iterator. So instead of having your ordinary sum, you have sum X. So what does the sum function does? It adds all the values together in a column. Okay, and this is how you implement it. Recall earlier on, I was mentioning about your column and table references. Okay, here we have table name and then column name. So here I have a sum. The name of my table is training_development data. And then the column I'm trying to calculate is the cost. So permit me. Okay, let me just go through this, then we see how it is being done on Power BI. Okay, then if you want to calculate average, I'm sure you all know average, which also means mean, right? That is the total sum of that particular column divided by the number of your occurrence or the frequency. So average of this, which is the table name, and then as the reference column. Then if you want to count, that means you want to count non-null values in the column. That is columns that have values in them that are not empty. So you use the count function. Count and then the table name referencing the column name. So you can see it's not that difficult at all, but this is part of the low code. Then for distinct count right now, that means you want to count your unique values. So you can say distinct count. You can see there's no space between this distinct and count. Distinct count, the name of your column, you reference it, and then your employee data, and then your data type. So table name, column name. Then we have count rows, counts the number of rows in a table or your table expression. So you can say count rows, the number of rows in this particular table, and then for this particular data set. And as well, if you want to implement the filter condition, say, oh, I want to count rows, and then ensure that you count only the rows that the training cost is greater than a particular value. So you can say I have to bring in the filter here, say my table name, comma, then my table name, and then the column I want to work on, greater than 800. So it's going to give you how many rows are present with values greater than 800, or the training cost is greater than 800. Then we have the if statement here. So in case you want to create a new column right now and say, oh, this particular column of mine, I want to group it, so based on the particular value. So here we said if training and development data and then the training cost is greater than 800, return high, otherwise return low. Then the last one here is the calculates. It changes the context in which your calculations happen. Okay, so I want you to calculate the sum of the training and development of the training costs, where the cost range is high. So depending on your use case. So this is just a brief about the basic DAX functions. There are a lot and there is more. So the ball is in your court to proceed further and deep dive into this, okay? So right now we'll be moving into the next one. So when it comes to your best practices for doing dashboards or your reporting, ensure you have one clear question to answer on your report, not that you model up many stuffs together. And another thing, you use consistent colors and fonts. I thought we were talking in the last class where we mentioned if you are working with Red Cross or you are working with the federal government of Nigeria, there are certain color codes you work with, right? So that's where the colors come into place. And then you make use of bookmarks and storytelling. And then optimize with data reduction and performance monitoring. So all these are still advanced. So, but the basic one we are going to do today, and we'll see that we all create one or two visuals on our Power BI. Okay, so before we proceed to Power BI, all right, so is Slim Dave on the call? Let me stop sharing. Is Slim Dave on the call? Apologies, I don't know your name, but your username is Slim Dave on WhatsApp.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Slim Dave. Where are you? I can't see you.
Adepoju David.
All right. Good afternoon, Mr. Adepoju David.
Yes, good afternoon, sir.
All right. So, yeah, thank you very much. I can see you answered some questions on your submitted report. So here you shared with us the total number of employees, the count of the employees' gender, okay, as well as the total working years of employee and count of employees by their age. So I'm sure in one or two of, I'm sure, yeah, maybe one or two, you created a measure, right?
Yes, I did.
All right. Okay. So thank you very much for taking heads up on this project. And I can also see you made use of a map visual. Actually, this requires internet connection, right? Internet connectivity.
Yes, it does.
All right. Okay. So do we have any questions, guys? Do we have any question? No questions, right? So we can proceed. Please, is it I'm not audible, or let me just get the scope of things here now?
We can
We
hear
can hear
you.
you. We can hear you.
All right. Okay. Thank you. All right. So let me connect Power BI here. So no one has a question. So how many of us attempted the visual I said you guys should work on? How many of us did? Except from David. Yes. How many of us did
The
aside
date
David?
actually, the date you put actually makes me not to attempt it because I was thinking it's not this week's submission, so I was busy with some other thing.
All right. Okay. No issues. Thank you for that feedback. Okay. Trying to load up this window. Okay, so when it comes to reporting, you need to have clear questions you want to answer in mind. So just walk through one or few questions, then we proceed. Oh, daily con. So sorry about that. I think that should be an issue with the network provider. Okay. Don't know why this window is taking too long to load. I don't have the data set here. Just a second. Just a second. This will be working. I will need to switch. Please drop in the message here. Please, I'm sorry, I'm finding it difficult. On top of flight mode. Okay. Please let's stay muted. No, why this is taking so long. Okay, looks like I need to switch to another machine. Let's go back. All right, so this other machine is kind of slow this evening. Let me load my data setting first, then I will share my screen. All right, so can we see my screen? Please confirm you can see my screen.
Yes,
Yes,
you
All right,
can.
thank you.
Yes, I can.
Okay.
So we
So
can't
what can you see at present? So currently loading the data. Okay. So data is coming in. All right, so first and first, this is your reports canvas. Okay, so this white space that we have where you have built visuals with your data. So if you click on this format pane here, you can see I have my page information, what type of page I want to give it as standard. Then the canvas setting. So this canvas setting now, recall we have different types of view or orientation, as the case may be, depending on what you need to work on. So you can set that here on the canvas setting. Do you want it to be in 4:3, 16:9, or you want to make it custom or a letter form? Then you have the height and the width. You can set that as well. So if it were to be custom now, you can see it's enabled. So I can say this is 1080 pixel, and I'll say this should be 1920 pixel. Okay, depending on how you want to structure it. And then for your canvas background, I mean, this place you have, so you can say, oh, do you want it to be in colors, or you want it to be an image, depending on which you want. So let's just say maybe like light green, so we can use this to explain. And then what's the transparency? You can set that. So this is just about setting this. Okay. Then in case if you want to have a wallpaper, you can always explore this later on. Okay. So we're done with setting our canvas. Next thing now is we begin. So also these tabs here, I'm sure we've explored it earlier on. So you can also set your theme. So to set the theme, come to view and then choose the type of theme you want to work with. So you can select anyone. So the current theme is accessible TDAO. Okay. Turn off. So here we are now. So here we have our data sets. You can see them all through the 4 data we were working with. And coming to our table view now, you can see our employee ID, our start date. So this particular data set I'm working with, I'm not transforming it. I just decided to load it directly. Okay, so employee engagement, you can see what we have here. And then for recruitment data, you can see how this is. So this is not transformed. So for us, we would need to transform it going forward. Okay, so here you can see desired salary, years of experience, education level. Okay, so I want someone to take notes on some questions we'll be answering. this evening based on the basic functions we've learned so far. Okay, so we might need to take a look at it. Hello?
Please, sir, the prints are too tiny. I'm not seeing.
Oh, I'm unable to see this. I'm not sure there's no zoom. Okay, I'm currently taking a look at the data. So there is no zoom slider here that we can use to zoom in. Okay, but I'm currently on the recruitment data now. So let's take a look at on recruitment data. We want to take a look at the years of experience. And then let's take a look at their desired salary. Okay, so what other thing again? And then the status. So we'll be writing some basic functions to check that. What again? Okay, education level as well for those that are trying to recruit. Oops, these persons that are finding it difficult to join. Hope it's not the network in their region. We hope they will be cool. And then we can also take a look at the gender or recruitment data. Okay, so coming to model view now. Recall I was saying something about one-to-one relationship and one-to-many relationship. So here on employee engagement, because if you take a look at the overview of this table right now, you'd see that it has what? Employee ID only. That means you can't find the name of the employee here. However, another location where you can find the employee name is on this employee data. Excuse me. So you can always create a link between both of them. But we need to first check, is this particular one, is it a number or is currently in text? So let's go and see. Let's come to transform data. So I'm launching Power Query now. Can you see the Power Query editor? Hello, can we see the Power Query editor?
Can you point your cursor to it? Can you point your cursor to it?
Okay, you can't see. Okay. It's Power BI. I have to share entire. All right, so this is the Power Query. So for employee engagements, this is also in text. Let me see something. Let me copy this employee ID and bring it in here. So one way I've been able to rename my columns. Okay, so it's numeric. This as well is numeric, and this as well is numeric. Okay, that's applicant ID, and this one as well. So let me just close and apply. Then come back to this table view after it has loaded. Sorry, my model view. So I have employee ID here. Here's my employee data. So let me link it to this guy. So you can see, says on employee data, I have employee ID. So which table do I want to link it to? Employee ID. Then the cardinality is what? 1 on 1. That is, I can only have one employee with one ID on my employee database. This is the first one. And then the employees as well, taking the survey data is only what? One survey that each employee can take. So I'll click on save. So this way, I've been able to create a relationship between this table and this table. So recall when we loaded our data sets, automatically, due to the AI ability embedded in Power BI, the employee ID were able to what? To link themselves together. Okay, so that's how this one came to be. All right, so let's proceed. Now, recall I was mentioning that for the recruitment data, the reason why we couldn't link it together was because there was no unique identifier, in which I mentioned that if we can create a concatenation of the first name and the last name, so first name and last name, if both are linked together, they will be good to go. Okay. So I said that we can try that. If it works out, then we share on the chat. Okay. So now moving on, let's create some visual. Yeah. Let me first minimize all this. Recall, this is our canvas now. Recall how we gave this canvas a background. And at the bottom here, you can also create your new page. So this is a new page actually, but you can also say you want to duplicate, you want to rename it, you want to hide it, delete it, or you want to move it to another location. So still on this, our home page, let's check how we can, okay, let's first of all bring in our data. So this is our data. We have employee engagement and all here. Should I zoom in or it's fine this way? I believe that's a yes. There's no need to zoom. So we have our build. So in most cases, for most persons, yours might not be showing how this is showing. So once you update your Power BI, it's even crying for another, asking for another update. So I'm here to do that. So here you have your build where you can actually see the default available visual packs we have on Power BI. You have your stack bar charts, your ribbon charts, your funnel, pie charts, bar charts, and donut charts, your gauge. I know. I think David made use of. Let me see. David's charts. I think I just need to pin it down because a lot of chatters covered this thing. David, could you help me just pin your visual so I can work with what we can relate to? Okay, I've seen it. Let me just put a pin here. All right, so for David's chart, David made use of a gauge, made use of the stacked column chart and a map visual, made use of the column charts and a donut chart as well, and a gauge. So how do we bring these to play? So first thing first, let's play around our data sets. Okay, recall I mentioned that on recruitment data, we're going to be working with checking out the education level. So this is your recruitment data. I've expanded it right now. And another thing again is due to time, we might not be able to delve further into this. There's what we call time intelligence on Power BI, such that you have your date, you have your data hierarchy. So you have your year, the quarter, the month, and the day as well. Now, if you take a look at city is just standing alone. If you take a look at the date of birth as well, you can see it also has its own date hierarchy. So time wouldn't permit us to take a look at this here. I mean, time intelligence. So now we want to work with education level. So recall that education level is a categorical, it's in a categorical column. It's a string, not a numeric integer. So how do you visualize category using your what? Your charts. So you can decide to do your stack bar charts or your stack column charts. So first thing first, let's check out the bar charts. So I clicked on this bar chart. You can see what we have on the canvas here. Okay, so now it's asking for my y-axis and my x-axis. So all you need to do is just click where is education level. This is education level. On clicking on education level, can you see it took it down to where? To the y-axis, but we are still not seeing any changes here. All right. So next thing I can do is let me pick the applicant ID since I know it's just respective applicants. So I'll bring that, I'll drag it to my x-axis. Now note something. Let me extend this. Now you can see what we're having right now. It says count of applicant ID. However, because this is a numeric value, so you can always see summarization here. Is it the count? Is it the sum? Is it the average? Is it the minimum, maximum, count distinct, or what do you want? So I want what? The count only. So it's best to extend this. And then, so here right now, we have our count of applicants by education level. So for bachelor's degree, we have 785 applicants, PhD 741, high school 738, and master's degree is 736. However, there's difference between each of them. So the next stage now is to proceed to formatting, because this way, how will your stakeholders be able to know that? Because let me extend this more. If not that I hovered on this and then we are seeing the tooltip, would we be able to know? What would you just picture? You picture that PhD, high school, and master's degree, they have the same value, right? Hello?
Yes, yes. That's true. That would be the conclusion.
By all right, thank you very much. Sorry for the break. Okay.
Hello, sir.
So I mentioned that. Hello. I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes. Can hear you now.
Okay. Do you have a question before I proceed?
No, you were asking if we would notice a difference between the PhD level and the others. And I was like, no, you wouldn't notice the difference without you hovering on the columns.
On it. All right. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. So now let's proceed. How do we format these to ensure it's okay for you? So you come to the format pane. You can see I have to come to the format pane here. So on this format pane, I have a whole lot of things here. I have the size and style. That is the size of my chart. Recall, this chart is active at the moment. That's why you can see it's referencing this. So I'm not working with the size and style now. The title. So we need to give it a title as well. So now let's suggest a good title for our chart. We are working together this evening. We are visualizing.
Should we say educational level, yes, of applicants?
Educational level of applicants, okay? All right. So we have educational level of applicants. However, it's an heading. So let's increase the font size. Okay, so you can see this is at 30 right now. So you can decide to make it bold, give it a color. Okay, so this is off it. So let's retain black. Now, do you want to wrap the text? Do you want it to have a subtitle? You can proceed to add that as well and all. So, but now we're done with the title. Let's just collapse this. Now let's come over to the y-axis. The y-axis has its values on. So this is your y and this is your x, right? I'm sure we all know where our x is and where our y is. Hello?
Yes, yes. Yes, sir.
All right. Please, we are working together. This is not my visualization now. It is our visualization. Me, I'm just controlling the mouse. I'm just controlling the interface now. Okay. So this is our y-axis, this is our x-axis. So let's confirm. If I should turn it off now, you can see the bachelor's and PhD are no longer there, right? So let me turn it on. Let me give it the same font I used. I think that was Cambria. Let me make this, this is 15. I think this is cool, right? And then the color, let me make it black so it's legible. And then the title, do I want the title to show? Recall, at the top, we have educational level of applicants. So that tells us that what? We are taking a look at their what? Their educational level, right? So we do not need that title any longer. So I'll just turn it off. Are we good to go? Hello.
Yes, sir, we are good to.
Okay. Let me collapse this. You can also do a lot of things here, the title and all, the layout. So let's collapse the y-axis. So coming to x-axis now. Here, you can decide to say, oh, you want to have a minimum value, you want to have a maximum value, turn on your logarithmic scale, invert the ranges of so. So now for the values here right now, you can see I have my values on the x-axis, but this wouldn't give me the real picture of what I need. So I'll do what? I'll turn it off. As well as the title, which is count of applicants ID, I will turn it off. So now I'm sure you'd be like, wow, now that we've turned it off, how do we get to see the values of this 785, 741, 738?
Exactly.
How do we get to see these values? So let me just skip a few ones and come to data labels. So this is data labels. Can you see 785 coming up? But we need to increase it.
Yes, yes.
All right. So now I would come here now and say my value. I want you to give it, we're using Cambria, right? So consistency, like I mentioned earlier, is very important. So let me increase this. So this is 20. So as a business stakeholder, is this coming to shape? So what's the color? This is white. I gave it white. So what I'll need to do is I'll bring it inside. So before I give it white, let me first of all give it black because I need to bring it inside the bars so it can be legible for we all. So display unit as well, in case you need to do that. So let's set it to none. We do not want it to be in any unit. So we are doing thousands here. So you can see the reflection of the thousands. It has calculated it as thousands. If you decide to choose millions, you can see, but 0 million, that is not the real picture. So we would set it as none. So we can have it that way. All right. So the detail, we're not adding any detail. So that is that on the value. All right. So now the position where we want it to be, let me choose inside end. So let me come back to this value and change the color to white. Are we making progress?
Yes, we are.
All right, it's only one person that is talking. Let me check your name. Your name, please.
Is it Ezekiel speaking? Ezekiel speaking.
Ezekiel. All right, thank you, Ezekiel. To the rest of the class, are we making progress?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
All right,
Yes.
thank you very much. So it's not about you building your report, your dashboard. So building it such that it actually makes sense to you and to your stakeholders, because the reason why you are actually building it is so that they can just glance through it at once and just proceed. Okay, and just proceed with it. So now we are done with visualizing the level of our what applicants. So you can still decide and say, oh, but this this title, does it look befitting enough? Educational level of applicants. Let's give it another good title. Since you are trying to explore the frequency, because this is like the count now. So we can always think about that later on, because that is very, very important as well. What does this really mean? So give it another good title. We've taken a look at this right now. We visualized categorical variables. So let me copy this and paste. So I've done a copy and paste. So let me tweak it and say, oh, I want to change it to a stacked column chart. So can you see how it came up here now? So which one would you prefer? Is it the stacked column or the stacked bar? You can go ahead depending on how you want your visualization to be. Okay. Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
All right. Any questions at this point before we proceed? So it's actually not difficult. Once you have a picture of what you want to do in mind, you begin to drag your cards one after the other, your visual charts, and then you proceed. Any question before we move on? Okay, so let me just put this down here so we can just see. In case we make our choice, we'll delete one later on. Okay, so now let's take a look at gender. We know that for gender, it's only what? 2. Let's even see what we have there. So I'll be selecting the donut chart. So click on donut chart. I have it on my canvas here. I have my legend, my values, and my details. So how do I visualize for gender? Yeah, can someone walk me through? The floor is open now. Did we go on break? Hello.
Hello, sir. Hello, sir. We're here.
Yes, I understand that you are here, but can someone walk me through how to? Now I've picked up my donut charts.
Okay,
I have
I think
my legend. Yes.
Yeah, Ezekiel speaking. What you should do next? So, since you've picked your donut chart and we want to look at the, should I call it analysis or statistics for gender? The next thing would be to copy. Yes, the next thing would be to copy the gender. I think we can see the gender box there. So let's just drag it to value. Yes, let's drag
let
it
me
to
select.
Oh yeah.
Gender went when on selecting it, it went to what? To legend. So however, let's drag it to value.
To value, yes.
So it's on value now.
But I believe we would still need to have it on the legend, because that would just be one of the parameters that will be there. So
all right. So let's drag this here because it's a legend, and then for the value, we can bring in this. So we have our count of employee here, And then the summarization here is count. Please, let's always take notes of that. So now let me expand this. Let me bring it towards the side. Let me just put these two beside themselves here and expand this guy. So for this particular guy now, for gender, you can see everything still looks tiny and clumsy sort of. So if we should present this to our stakeholders, is it okay?
No, it's not perfect yet. We can still work on it. So we can then edit.
We can still work on it.
Yes, we can edit the labels around the donuts. Although I can't see it too clearly. Yes, I can't see it clearly.
You can't see as well. Same here.
Yeah, and increase the font size.
So we need to format this. Thank you. So we need to format this, increase the font size, and do a lot of things. So what we'll do now is the format pane is already up. So we want to take a look at the gender right now. So the gender is here. I'll say, okay, my title. Which title am I giving it? Say count of. Oh yeah, which title are we giving it? Okay, suggesting title. Okay, let me say gender distribution. Applicants gender distribution.
Yes. Or employees gender distribution.
Okay. Applicants gender distribution. Okay, so we're using, okay, still adding 3, Cambria 18. I think we used that 30 earlier on, right? Let's just maintain consistency. Let's be consistent. The color is black. Jesus, don't die you. Okay. All right. So sorry about that glitch. So I have my title up. Let me minimize this. So for my legend, where do I want it to be? Which position? So at present is center right. So if I should say center left, you can see where it took it to now. So you might need to customize this as well. So I want to leave it center right. So that's for this. Then the text, what's the font? So you can see it's a whole lot of work you doing your customization. I think 18 is fine. Cool. Then the color, let's set it to black. Then after that, the title, we don't need the title, or do we? Do we need to have it as gender, since we already know that we are working with gender? So let me turn it off. In your case, you might decide to also turn it on as you wish. Then for your slice, do you want to edit the color? So for instance, the color for male here, do we want to edit it? Let's say, so we can see the difference. Let me choose black. So can you see what happened now? So that is if you intend to change the color yourself. But let me just come back here and say undo. Okay, I just did Ctrl Z and it undid itself. So we are not working on this again. So what we need to do now is the details label. Now the details label, let's first of all check out the values. So you can see there's a whole lot of work to do, even as it's just drag and drop. You still need to customize. Is it legible this way, Ezekiel? Hello?
Yes, it's legible.
All right. Okay, so let's give it a black color so in case they are printing it, so it would come out well. So now recall one thing I said about the values. Now you are seeing 0.97K. This is in thousands. So the display unit, let's set it to none. So is this okay?
Yes, sir.
Hello, house.
Yes.
Font size. The font size.
Sir?
So are you referring to the font size?
Yeah, the font size and this particular visual we just created?
Yeah,
Is it
yeah.
okay?
I believe it can look more appealing if you do something to the colors.
The colors, okay. Oh yeah, give us colors. All right, so
Bright
not to
colors would
worry.
have been.
When it comes to colors, you can always do check for color wheel. Okay, so this evening we would not be taking a look into color theory and all. It's just to grasp the basic concept. Okay, then we can always proceed. So here now we have the color wheel. You can make use of this color wheel. Pick a color. Which color are we picking? I should pick a color for us.
Yellow, green, blue.
Okay, I have yellow here. You can say you want to make it complementary or triadic. So is this combination okay?
Yeah, I think
What
this
you
is,
have
this
here?
is, yes, it's fine. It's fine.
This is fine. Okay. So I've copied this particular color now. Let me go back to my BI. So for this, so how do we set these colors? On values, not on values. Come to the legend. Here's the text, not the text. Where did this thing hide itself to now? Position right, on the title. Okay, yeah, series. So for mail, let's change these colors. So let me drop this. So for order, let's pick the color. So this is another way you can change your colors. So then let's pick for the third guy. Then that will be for female now. Female, more colors. All right. So is this cool and appealing to the eyes? Hello, guys.
Yes, it is, sir.
All right. So before we proceed, let me change this canvas to plain white. So canvas background, go back to white. So you can always have this. So everything doesn't look muddled up. Let me try and see if we can pick up the colors from here using Format Painter. No, there you go. So now it's reformatted my data. Okay. So we've been able to explore how to create your charts, your visualization now. So let's take a look at this is for categorical data. Let's take a look at the status. So for status now, another thing I can just do is if I want to maintain this now, I can just do Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V. That means I'm doing copy and paste. I'll remove the gender. I said I wanted to look at the status, right? So this is the status. But does this look appealing? Now we've done for applicant distribution. This is 3. This is 3 variables. But for gender distribution, how many do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So is it best to visualize the application status in application status? Is it best to visualize this as using a donut chart, a donut chart specifically? Hello?
No, really, sir.
Not really. Okay, so there are what we call design principles. So I'm going to share a document with us. It's going to be in the Google Drive of the resources. So you can always check that book. Excuse me, let me check the name once more time. I don't know why.
Can I ask a question?
Please ask a question.
Okay, my question is this: is there order to this? To the, how will I say it now? Is there order to the way we are to carry out this visualization? Something. What I mean by is there order is this: firstly, we take the kind of visual you want to use, whether it's a bar chart, whether it's a pie chart. After that, what is next? Are we to do the dragging of the information that we want to represent with our visual? After that, then we go to format. Are there elders to the way this thing is carried out, or it can just be done anyhow? That's just my question.
Okay, so there's another to how it is being done. And like I started earlier, after loading your data sets, you come to the build tab, you select the particular visual you want to work with. Then from there, you begin to add the data sets. Okay, so once you've added your data sets, then you begin to carry out your formatting. Then once you are done with your formatting, then I would say on that particular visual, you are done. Hope that's clear. All right, so
it's good. Yeah.
Let me come to the resources here. So there's this chart type guide here. So we need to go and study this. So how do you choose your chart type when you're working? Because it's not that, oh, you have your data now and you begin to carry out your presentations. So I would love us to explore this. So if you want to check out what has transpired over time, I mean trends, you make use of your what? Your line charts. Okay, and if you want to take a look at absolute values, you make use of your column charts, your bar charts, your funnels and all. And then if you want to take a look at shares, it is what percentage is this particular thing taking, then you make use of your pie charts and even most times your column charts as well. But when it comes to bonus charts and pie charts, max of 3 values or 3 variables. Okay, a max of 3 variables so that it can be what? Visible. So if it's more than 3, then you revert back to your bar chart or your column chart. And then maps for geographical location visualization. Then you have your flows as well. Then for correlation, you have your scatter chart, your bubble charts, and all. And what I have here. So you can see for line charts, how it's being used, how you make use of your area chart. If you want to do comparison now, say between 3 different categories on the same chart, you can make use of this stacked column charts. Okay, so we always have this to ourselves. We can review later on. So for this right now, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's more. So let's just convert back to a stacked bar chart. So if I should click on this, do you see what we have now? So, but the beauty of it is this: instead of us to repeat the same formatting we did earlier on for this educational level, all I'll just do now is I would apply paint format, okay, in my format painter. So I'll select this educational level of applicants. I'll click on format painter and just select this. So can we see how the work is easy and swift? Okay. Is this okay?
Yeah, it is.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so instead of us to start going through
yeah, sorry.
Please, you are muted. Let's stay muted, okay? So instead of us to go through the process of reformatting and all, now you can see it's just like there's just a slight variation between between those that are currently in the interviewing stage, those that are rejected, those in review, offered, and applied. Okay, so this is this. So let's delete one of these Guys, which one are we working with? You guys should pick on which one should I delete? Is it the column chart or the bar chart? So let's take a look at measures right now. Let's write some DAX. Let's play with DAX before we call it an evening. Oh yeah, which one are we deleting, guys?
The column chart.
Hello. The column chart. Okay. All right. So we deleted the column charts. Let me bring this to. So, and when it comes to design as well, that one is another thing entirely. Okay, designing your reports design in Power BI. So you can see how these guys fitted here now. So everything has to be in the same proportion as well. So not that one will be much than another. So my next thing need to give this one borders. We'll create borders later on. So we have this now. We still have this top. So let's insert. So here we move on this. We want to create a DAX. How do we create DAX measures now? Recall earlier on here, I said our DAX, we have a whole lot of them. If you want to add, this sum right now works for numeric values. Okay, your average as well work for numeric value, and then your count of employee will tell you what's the total number of employee you have. So let's first of all start with the count. Now we are here. How do we go about it? So first thing first, I'll need to create a new table such that I can store all my measures there. Okay. So coming to the table view, let me click on new table. All right, so let me call my new table name, say measure list. All right, so well, another thing I can do is I can bring it to the top by giving it an underscore, or you give it an hash, either ways, to bring your measures list to the top. Okay, so here right now, I'll just say, okay, I want to create a new measure. So we want to take a look at the count of employees we have. So let's check back here. We said to take a look at the count, we'd say count employee underscore data and then the employee ID. Let me just copy this and bring it here. So you give it a variable name. So total employee. Okay, total employee, you say, okay, count my employee and then the ID. So in case you want to see how it's been written, instead of doing copy and paste, so you call your count function, count, then you can see I have employee, you reference the table name and then the column. So here, select employee and employee ID. Oh, I already changed that employee, that EMP ID on Power Query earlier. So that's why it's not going to work. So I'll select this and then I'll close my brackets. Now, just click on commit. You can see I have it here right now, total employee. Now, how do we visualize this total employee? We'll be making use of what we call a card visual. So let me select card visual. Then I would add my data, which is the field here. I have 3,000 employee. So this one is already settled. Do we have any questions before we proceed? Hello, do we have any questions? Might need to format this as well. No questions. Okay. So let's
And
format
one
this.
on,
Can you
hello,
go back to the
hello.
process again? I
Hello.
Okay, one
don't
other
get how
thing
you
that I'm
arrive at
thinking
this
is that
breakout.
when, as we're answering the questions, is there like, I don't even know how to ask the question now.
Just ask
Like,
as you wish.
okay, I'm just saying, is that, I don't even know. Is there, holy Jesus, is there, gosh. Well, please, I don't know how to structure the question. My thinking is, how do we know what and what to to answer at every point in time? Or it's just whatever we felt that we want to bring out of the data. Oh, we want to look for the employee, total of the employee, then we do employee. Or there's another structural way to arrive at the questions to answer with the data we are working with.
Okay. All right. So when it comes to data, okay, before you dabble your hand into any form of data, we mentioned earlier on that you need to first of all have a good business understanding. And then what is the problem you are trying to solve with that particular data set? Okay. So now you've been given employee data right now. If it were to be, say, depending on your stakeholder right now, that would enable you to identify the types of questions to answer. Okay. So say for instance, now you have this data set with us. You can see we have 4 different tables. We have the employee data. That means the people that are presently working in the company. All right. And you have the recruitment data. So say for instance, someone just calls the HR now, or the HR is telling the management that we are lacking manpower, or we have deficiency of manpower in so department. So you as a data analyst now, you come up and show management that of a truth, we are having deficiency or lack of manpower in this department based on the current data. Okay. So depending on the industry you work with, depending on your stakeholders, will determine the questions you are working with. Okay. So this is going to form part of your project. I'm just trying to show you and highlight the basics to you, how you implement before you now carry everything and bring it into one. Okay.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Then one other thing I just want to ask now, judging from the real life structure of an organization, that we have different departments. Like myself, I'm working in account and somebody is working in sales. So I'm now thinking, am I to leave my job as an accountant and be doing data analysis for the person in sales? I guess it's the person in sales that should be bothered with this analysis, and I am bothered with things that is related to my core accounting report. Or what is your view? Because many times I'm in this class, the example they kept on using has always been centered around sales, this and that. There's never a time that any question is being taken from the aspect of accounting. Now, many times I now look at it, how does this thing translate to my own area of expertise? Because I'm not a sales. I can't have a sales person, marketing person, and I leave my core responsibility as an accountant and I start analyzing sales or employee for like this one now that has to do with HR. HR should be able to analyze their data by themselves. At the end of the day, should be able to give a perspective as to what their data is talking about. So am I to leave my core responsibility and also be doing analysis for different departments, doing for the HR, doing for sales, doing for, I think that one is work overloaded. Maybe I'm just thinking in the wrong direction.
No issues. You're not thinking in the wrong direction. I'm sure if you check through the earlier class space, we talked about domain knowledge. All right. So going forward, the plan is that for your assessment, for your project, you are going to get a data set for your own domain that you are comfortable with. So this class is not about we streamlining to a particular department only. So we are just working with this data. We got this data set from Kaggle, just around a random sample data set. And we said, okay, let's clean it and let's make visualization with it. So when it comes to your project, you choose the data you are comfortable with that is in your domain and you work with it. Okay?
But
Hope
it
that answers
doesn't
your
work.
question.
It doesn't work. Like I told you that I work with financial statement most time. I've been trying to work one on using the power. It does not. I don't know. Maybe I'm the one that didn't have the expertise to do that, but it's not aligned. It's not working. I just have to go back to my Power Query to be able to do the analysis, the kind of analysis I want to do.
All right. So we'll look into that after the call. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thanks.
Let's see how we can explore it. All right. So moving forward, we have our total employee. We've written our DAX formula to check this. So we can proceed to give it a title, format it as we wish. Okay. So let me just do one. So for the display unit as well. So for instance, if it's in 1,000, you can see I'm having 3K here. And if it's in millions, so you can see I'm having 0 millions, which doesn't give us the real picture. So these are little things you need to capture when you are working on your reports. Okay, so let me just set it to the default, which is none. All right, so we're good to go. So sorry, before we proceed now, let me just bring in a text box here. So here I want to give it a title, employee. I'm sure you're not seeing what I'm writing, right?
We can't see.
Can we see what I'm writing?
No.
Okay, so let me change the font and increase the size. So you can decide to bold it, give it a background and all. So but I wouldn't be doing that this evening because we still have a few more things to do. Why are you not dragging? Let me increase the size now. So apparently, the basics of this class is to give us an informed view. So when it comes to report design and all, that's in advanced classes. Okay. Why is it showing this guy here? Let's leave this. We'll tackle this one later on. So we've written our first DAX, right? So let me check the second one now. So let's take a look at, we want to calculate the training cost right now. We want to do our training costs, still coming to the measures list here. Just click on it. You can right click and say new measure here. Okay. So I have a new measure. It's up here. So what do I want to call this now? Let's say training cost, right? So training, why is this? Training cost. Training cost equals to sum. I call my sum, and then it's in recruitment data, right? Recruitment data. Then under recruitment data here, I have, where is the training cost here? I think it's under training and development, not recruitment. Training and okay, I have training cost here, training and development data, training costs. Then I close my bracket and I commit. Okay, so right now I've committed it to memory. I have training costs. So I want to visualize it with a what? With a card. So I have my card here. Then select my training cost. So my training cost is giving me 1.68 million. Is this true? Hello guys, is this true?
Sorry, we
Why do you
use
want to do-
measure. Hello.
Yes.
So when you use measure, the thinking on my head is that we are doing multiplication. This maybe this times this, but you just select. So why didn't we just go directly to the tables that is having and just pick training course directly? Why are we now doing measure when it's not about, when we are not applying formula as it were? I don't know. Maybe I'm not getting something.
All right. So like we mentioned, data analysis expressions, DAX formulas, you use it in, I'm sure you make use of it in Power Query as well if you are a lover of Excel. Okay, depending, maybe you use the GUI, you don't write the codes. Okay, so it helps you to create these measures. So instead of you going to the particular column and picking it, so say for instance, anytime you add up your data set or you do a refresh right now, the measures will automatically get updated. Okay, so that's why we have this. So this is not the real picture for this. All I'm just going to do now is let me format this. Let me click on format paint, and so you can see what we have now. I have a 1.675. So depending on how you want to leave it as, okay, you can decide to say you want to leave it in millions or you want to leave it in thousands. Okay. Right, so moving on, I think we still have like, okay, let's work with the logical statements then. Okay, so let's take a look at our data sets here. I'll come to the training data set. So you can see here we have the training cost. So what we actually did earlier on was to calculate the sum of all these costs per employee, what they used to train them. Now, if we should say, okay, we want to actually bin these values right now to say maybe there's a high cost or there's a low cost, you can do it using the GUI. Okay, so let's work with the GUI first. So I'm selecting this group right now. I'm selecting this column. Okay, so I can decide to say data groups and say, okay, new data group. Okay, so now I have my bin here. So let me say training cost category. Training cost cut. So how do I want it to be? Is it in a list or I want it to be in a bin? So let me select the list. So you can see all the values I have here right now. So I should say, well, this is actually a long way to go. Mind me. I should say from here down to like, where is 150? Okay, then I say group. So it has grouped everything from 1 down to 150. Say group 100. Okay. So you can see the rest fell into order. So if I should filter this now, and okay, let me filter this only and say group 100. You'd see that all the values we have here were the values we selected for group 100. Can you see it all through now? Even down to the maximum I can see here is 145 or so. So if we should check this now and sort it accordingly, you'd see the maximum value here is 150. So in cases like this, when you want to create your bins, you can always use the GUI. And if you also want to use your DAX as well, if you are someone who is not very conversant with GUI, you want to write your code, we'll make use of the if statement. So let's come up to over here. Let me say, okay, new measure. So let's say training cost range, okay, equals to if referencing the data, the table name. The table name is what? Training Training and development, where is it? Okay, it has to be on the table. Sorry. We want to create a new calculated column rather. This is training and development data. So we want to create a new column here, not a DAX measure now. So click on new column and it will request. So for this training cost range will be equal to if your training development data and training cost, okay, is greater than, let's do the other way around now. If it's greater than 151, okay, what should they give us? Let's say I. Else, you should return low. And we can decide to tweak the value instead of from 151. Let's change this to 200. So if I should commit this now, this is a calculated column. So this 136 is below 200. That is why we're having low. So if I should select for I, oh, okay, this filter is already on there already. Let me clear the filter. So you can see this is 800, is above 200. So let me select I only, so you can see that values are above 200. 219 is above 200. 339 is above 200. So this is how you create your calculated columns. That is, you already have, this is what we call feature engineering. You have existing columns. However, you need to create new columns from them again. It's either you do it on Power Query or you do it as a calculated column here on your Power BI. Okay. So do we have any questions? Hello. Hello. Are we still on this call? So I cannot
Yes,
not.
no question.
Yes, we are.
Okay, we are still on this call. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's just take a look at one quick visualization. So our project is gonna be based on our own choice data set, and there's gonna be a timeline for that. So I believe this is July 26th. Next Saturday will be August 2nd. Okay, so let's just give a week to that. So we share details on your project, checking your choice data set, come up with at most 5 questions. You come up with a one-page report. Okay, sorry for my voice that is kind of acting up this evening. All right, so let's take a look at how we can make use of the stacked column charts. So here I want to bring in my stacked column charts, see what we have in the departments as regards the gender ratio for each of the departments that we have. So I have my stacked bar chart here. So I want to work with employee data right now. So in employee data, I'm sure they have the department type. So you need to first of all study this data set very well. You have the data, you have the department. Then let me bring in the employee ID, which is the count. And then for my legend now, I want to see the distribution of gender across the departments they have. So we can know which department has more females or which department has more males. Okay. So there should be a gender here. There should be gender here as well. Can anyone help me find that? Okay, gender code. So I want to bring in my gender code as a legend. Okay, All right. So another thing again, when it comes to Power BI, in case you want to visualize this, it's small here. Just click on this focus mode. So you get to see it in its entirety here. Okay. Are we making progress?
Yeah, sorry. Another question I want to ask is this, because many a times I do guess, try and error. I don't, depending on the kind of the question I'm trying to answer. At times it looks so similar, you don't know which one to place on X axis, which one to place on Y axis. So it's more or less like, or the one to put in the legend. So is there any, I don't know how to, is there any way that we know that, oh, this particular data can only go for X axis, this particular can only go for Y axis, and this must always be on legend in order for you to be able to get this kind of display or visualization? I don't know if you get my answer, my question.
All right. Okay. So the resources tab, you still need to go through the document there, like how to choose your chart type. Okay. So now, first thing first, say for instance, you want to check out a trend, what has been happening across board. Maybe you have a savings account and you have a current account now. You want to monitor the trend. So that way, savings and current, those are categorical variables, right? Hello?
Oh, sorry, I'm muted. Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So
Yeah.
savings and current are categorical variables. So you assign them as your what? As your legend, because you want to see the difference amongst them that way. Then for your numeric values, then you can now decide to place, if it's for a trend right now, you want to see, okay, how did money move from January to December? Then you would have your dates on the x-axis. All right. And then your value, which is the amount, will be on your y-axis, such that it's going to give you something in what is it called? Will be on the wavy face. Okay, there will be line charts, such of wavy, depending on how it moves. So you might still need to deep dive into studying how each of these charts works. Okay, so there's this art of storytelling by New Blank or so. I'll add it to the resources tab so you guys can just read up on that as well. So for each and every type of reports you want to build, there is always a specific chart type that is associated with it. Okay. So let me go back to this report and see how we can improve this going further. So let's try and see if we can just do a copy of this format painting. Let me try this one, do format painter and see. Is it going to work? Okay, this worked a little. Formatted the, let me bring it to focus mode. They give us the font formatting now, but we still need to work more on this. So how do we proceed? So let's go and remove this department type. Since we still have our agenda code here, that's fine. So all these ones now is still part of report design, which is not something you can learn at a sitting. You need to sit down with it and learn how it works. So now, for this one now, what do we categorize? What do we give this title? What title do we give it? Hello?
Employee by department and gender.
Okay, employee by department. As I said, we are working together, not only me. Employee by department and gender. Okay. Now, Cambria. Okay, this is fine. You can decide to centralize it if you wish, or still leave it at the left. Okay, so for our y-axis, let's turn off the title, since we know that production IT are what departments. Then we have Cambria. Okay, I think This is cool, right? Okay. So in terms of the value now, count of employee ID, that's on the x-axis. Should we leave that? Let me just turn off the title then, since the values are there. But this can still be improved to me. Oh, the title. All right. So, okay, excuse me. For the x-axis now, the value, let's also format it. Cambria, I think we used
Sorry,
17 or so.
can I ask something again?
Please ask your question. That's why we are
Okay,
here.
you know, the other time you were making reference to x-axis has to do with the value and y-axis has to do with the time series, and is it time series?
It's dependent on the type of data set you are working with. That is how you
Okay,
set your X
because
and your
on
Y.
that I was just thinking generally that what if I'm working on a sales report that is trying to get a sales in a specific country according to the state. You know, they both look like more or less like no numeric. I don't know if you said. So which one, state and country now, state and country. There's no one that I'm thinking that has to do with value as it were. So which one are we going to now put as S as is? Which one is going to be for Y as it? When you are considering the data that is, you know, checking the state against the country, that in this particular country, how many sales was made in each of the states? I don't even know.
Okay, so say for instance, you want to check the amount of sales made in a particular state, right? Or region, as the case may be. So now you have your sales data, right? One, there is the revenue column, right? Revenue, and then you have the region, right? So select your bar chart or your column chart. Try to switch it, and then you get your answer. Okay?
Okay.
It's by practice. I can't just tell you this by mouth. So you have to practice it. So let me introduce us to one more element here before we proceed. Okay, so filters. Filters are very, very important. Your slicers. So let me bring in a slicer here now. This chart now. So maybe we can just go and complete this and come back with our report, because it's almost 5 and I'm sure some persons still have a whole lot to do right now this evening. So might just need to resize all these stuffs going on later on. Okay. All right, so let me bring in filters now. So how do these filters work? How do sliders work? So say for instance, I'm working, I want to say, okay, give me, you know, I have my categorical variables. I have a gender code, right? Which is male and female. So this is it here. Let's see how we can increase it. The other icon is here, the data format. It's still text, the visual, what's the size and style? This should be, say, 400. Depending on how you want it to visual. You want it to have a background, you want it to have a visual border. Yes. What's the width like? 100 corners. So I'm just trying to design this one now. So if I should click on male only, can you see what happened? It only filtered for male. And then if I should click on female only, it only filtered for female. Why is it not reflecting on this recruitment data here? Can someone tell me why? Hello? Hello? Yes.
Sorry, I didn't get your question.
Okay. I brought in this filter, right? I said, let's take a look at what we call filters. All right, so I selected my slicer here, and I brought it in. Then I selected male. You can see only this is changing, and I selected female. So these charts that are at the bottom here, you can see there's no reflect. It's not even showing as if we are doing anything. So can anyone give us an hint into what's happening?
I don't know. Maybe because those charts were not gender-based, or maybe
Okay.
gender was linked. I don't know, Sha.
All right. So, okay. So let me just wrap it up. So if you take a look at this chart now, you can see employee data is ticked. If you take a look at this as well, you see employee data ticked. While these three are what? Are recruitment data. Are you following?
Yes, we are following.
Hello? All right. So, and then recall on our model, we said there was no relationship between recruitment data and our what? Employee data. So that is why it's not reflecting whenever you decide to check in your slicer. You can see this is just still. So let me just copy this slicer and paste. So let's take a look at recruitment data. If we can get gender here. Okay, we have gender there as well. So let's bring it in here. So let's drag this one to this guy, and then this one as well for this guy. So you can see when I filtered on order, you can see that these three charts actually did what? Can you see something? Hello?
Yes, we can.
All right. So this is part of the impact of slicers. So once you select on an option on your slicer, you can see how it dynamically translates down to the visuals you've built already. Okay. So going forward, we've been able to look at the basics of Power BI, took a look at some of the measures as well, how to create a calculated column using the GUI and using formulas. Okay, then came up with some charts. So going forward, our task is going to be this: look out for a data set that is in your domain, okay? Data that you are conversant with, and work with it. Please and please don't work or share data that is not meant to be shared. Okay, that is very, very important. Data governance is key. Okay, data governance is key. I repeat, you can go on Kaggle, look out for your random data sets, or you can as well use AI, use the likes of Faker and all to generate your data set. The most important thing is about, we want to see is, okay, your learning process. Has this person been able to see how to make use of this particular tool? Okay, and from there, do not stop learning. Okay, sorry for taking time past 5. Do we have any questions as we'll be wrapping up our session today? Do we have any questions? Hello,
Okay,
do we
just
have any
wanted to
questions?
ask. Hope we'll be getting the recording for this.
Okay, all right. So I'm sure once you check our email, I'm sure we all got an email that was last week. So check the link in your mail. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Any other question? Any other question? Okay, so anyone wants to give a shout out to our sponsors, IHS Towers, the implementers, OVL Foundation, and
Is
Kratos.
desktop you told me you're going to go through, is it on one-on-one, or you want to show us here how to export from Power BI to Excel.
Okay, so I would need to stop the recording first so that those that want to take out of the meeting can move, and then while the rest of us continue with that. Okay, so we don't keep people waiting because we are done with the class now. So do we have anyone that wants to give a shout out to our sponsors? IHS Towers, your foundation, and Kratos Sustainability Consult.
Mr. David should do that. I think he has gone far. David Adepoju, do the shout out now.
Anyways, a big thank you to IHS, our sponsors, and our instructors and the enablers too. We really appreciate, and then I've really gained a lot, and it has even given me the vibe to like further more myself, to like learn more. I made researches and watched videos, but this was the pushing force that helped me with that. So I say a very big thank you to everyone that has been involved. Thank you and God bless you. Shalom.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you
too.
very much, David. Over to you, Damilare Williams.
Okay, I also want to say a big thank you to all the sponsors, the IHS, I don't normally remember the others. Is this
OVL Foundation,
OVL
Kratos
Foundation?
Sustainability Consult.
Yeah, I want to thank every one of them for this great and wonderful job they are doing. If not for them, many of us will just be wondering, oh, how is this thing being done? But with this kind of a forum, at least it gives us an idea there and even make it more simpler than we even thought it is being done. Because I've been into several classes and the way you took it is more simpler, and even, some will just dive into the solution directly, but you unfortunately take us through the navigations of the fields, how to do this, how to do that, before we even go into the building of the necessary visuals, and which is a very good one. So to all the sponsors, we are very grateful, and we pray the God Almighty will continue to prosper their businesses in Jesus' name. Amen. And thank you to you too, our instructor, because you are also the pilot of the plane. Without you, though the sponsor plays a very good role, but you make the whole thing come together for every one of us to benefit from. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you to you, Mr.
Very big thank you to
Ayobami.
NESA 84 Labs for that.
So, Mr. Bayomi,
NESA
thank
84
you very
Labs.
much.
Bayomi.
Yeah.
So shout out to NESA 84 Labs. Okay, I can see Ugochukwu giving Atinos. Okay. All right. So thank you everyone for joining once more. See you on the next one. Bye.
Bye, everyone.